everybody. Welcome back to our live Q&A. And Sue is back with us today. I'm so happy to have you back, Sue.
Thank you.
How's your eclipse transition been? How's the
moment to moment, I'll tell you what. Yeah. Feels like a little bit of the dark night of the soul, and super highs, super lows, and good night's sleep, and then waking up in the middle of the night. So it's all over the place. So when people are like, how are you? Well, like in this moment feels okay, right? But yeah, so I kind of like it. It feels like surfing, you know. I feel like I feels like I'm surfing, but I don't know how to surf, right? So I'm like, oh, okay. Yeah, no one's ever taught me. So it's like, okay, well, I think you just got to get up on this board, right? So I'm kind of been on my stomach a few times. I've been washed up to shore a few times, but all in all, yeah, I feel like, okay, starting to get the hang of this energy. And so I don't know, what has it been like for you? Because that's how
well, as I was just filling Sue in, it's like, boy, when it comes on full on for me as a Gemini, and I've got a dozen or more plates spinning in the air simultaneously, and a lot of things are happening, and I do thrive on that. And it's also like, woo, you gotta be surfing pretty good.
Yes, yeah, absolutely. Yeah, we were just talking about those plates, and it's like, yeah, well, you know what it's like when there's lots of spinning plates and one's about to drop, and you're like, oh no, don't react because they're all gonna go. So
interesting. Don't react is how do we feel? How do we not just deny our feelings, but also don't go into overreaction or like intensive reaction to the feelings, because it is that analogy of surfing is perfect. And I've always heard that these are the times we've been made for. These times, this is what we came here to do.
Right. That makes tons of sense. We signed up for this. So our soul's like, yeah, let's go back down. And then we get here and we're like, what exactly were we thinking? You know what I mean? I always think like, I know, I just blindly jumped in. They're like, hey, well, and I saw it in a session. So I was doing a hypnosis session. I was under hypnosis, and my guides were like, yeah, they recommended the people, my family, the people. My family, right? Yeah, and then and they were like, if you want to learn all these things, this is the scenario we recommend, sort of thing. And I'm like, yep, and so then here we are, right? I think I kind of jumped.
And I've got the ancestors as well, because it's not just our family, our immediate family, right? It's not just the people that we grew up with, but it's also the lineage. So we come in and we choose, like, the DNA is not just about your hair and eye color. It's about the history of your lineage. And
that's interesting. Yeah. I get that. And then there's another piece of me and so I'm an Aquarius, right? So I feel like I'm always human family. It's always, they're all of our children. We're God's children. These are all of our children. We're responsible for all of it, I believe. Yes. Not just children that are born to us. And then the other thing about ancestry, I wonder if we override that in another way, like my individuality, my authenticity overrides all of that. That's how I tend to live, because I'm like, yeah, I mean, I'll take bits and pieces or whatever. That's great. But there's another piece that is so much bigger than that. I don't know.
Well, I mean, I feel like we can certainly, maybe override isn't the word I would choose.
Like override? You don't know my family? No, just kidding.
Just dog run over those. But integrate with ease, maybe integrate with ease.
Oh, that sounds okay. Yes, that sounds nicer.
And I'm not just trying to be nice. I'm saying we chose it. It's not just happenstance, and there is no ideal family, right? I do ancestral healing work all the time, and there is no like, oh, you're lucky. You got people, even the ones that look like they have the ideal family, there are things buried in everyone's lineage. There's strengths and weaknesses all over the place. And a lot of times, the things that we think are weaknesses are actually designed to push us to evolve in certain ways that grow us into extraordinary human beings. So
Yes. Yeah. The more dark, I think too, you wouldn't be able to see the light or to be able to shine the light. Like, I believe we've come here to like, if we can shine our light and still find in the negativity and all the density, and we can still shine, like we can still make it, man, what we can do.
Yeah.
As humans,
Yes. Yeah. What we can do, and that we're maybe just starting to get a hint of that. We're starting to go, oh, like I believe we can heal timelines by doing our own personal and ancestral work. And if we're going to do work, I mean, we can do collective historical timeline healing as well.
Yes.
But if we're going to do work, you might as well start in your own backyard, right? And so our own lineage is a great place to start.
Yes.
with again, as I said, integrating that with ease. And I always say this isn't about like hard struggling, facing stuff, clearing stuff with a lot of, I want to say, vengeance or ferocity. But it's actually the joy of getting to know the story. A lot of the healing happens just when we learn more about our ancestors. We learn more, and then we go, oh, wow, I see myself in that. That makes sense why I've had these struggles.
Yep.
And that inner awareness starts to grow, and a lot of compassion grows as well from that.
Yeah, that makes tons of sense. Mm-hmm. So for a question then around ancestry, what I would wonder is what'd you get there?
Well, it's the high priestess has been on the bottom. I've been shuffling. She keeps staying on the bottom. And she's one of the things that she represents to me is a connection to our ancestors. So because she kind of is sitting at the gates, presiding over the gates between life and death, and between the conscious and the unconscious, the past, present, and future. So she's a gatekeeper. And in that role, she has a lot to do with connecting us to our ancestors. So when she shows up in a reading, if I get that feeling around her that she's holding energy for us, for the ancestors, then, she can communicate around that.
Wow. Yeah. It's okay. So when I call in guides and stuff, when I do sessions, and whether I'm doing breath work or hypnosis sessions, I often don't call in ancestors. And I don't know why. And I think, well, we ask for only the highest and most original light source beings. And perhaps there's because I've always felt like there were some ancestors that are meddling.
Okay. So perfect. It's such a good question. And it's a common question around, to me, I say, let's say your ancestors are a large spectrum of beings and a large spectrum of frequencies, consciousness, and life experiences or histories.
Yes.
So in that, there's a full spectrum. There are even within an individual, there are meddling frequencies, and there's also strength and love and care. And so what I do is I say, well, we're tuning into the ones that can meet us in this heart-centered frequency.
Yes.
This healing, empowered, caring, loving frequency aligned with the greater good of all. We're not excluding those that cannot, or the frequencies that cannot. What we're saying is we're not engaging with them as our primary connection because they're not strong enough to hold the frequency that we're coming in with.
Well, it's like going to a family reunion in a way, right? You hang around with the people who are making you feel good, and the one that's kind of steeped in more negativity. You're just, good morning, how are you? And then, maybe you spend a little less time, right? So,
and what's really cool is when we get into this, we see that we include all are included, because just whatever we do that is healing, it uplifts and benefits the healing of all of them. And it's just like what we're going through on our planet right now. It's not meant to be that we banish and leave some behind. That's the old paradigm. That's the fear-based power dominant paradigm, which is like, just cut off the sickness, cut out the cancer, and let's move on with life, Right. It's like we are integrating and healing that cancer. We are healing those traumas. We don't have to go, but we don't heal them by going directly to them. We don't confront them and try to fix them.
Yes. It's just basically, I feel like it's like holding, making your vibration higher, opening the light in your heart. And people will either come and be attracted, be pulled up by it. And my work, I would say, is not be pulled down, in vibration, right? And if I am, that's not their fault. It's because I was unaware.
Yeah, and it's almost as good. It's almost as simple as declaring what frequencies you're connecting with very clearly, but not saying, the rest I make a big, huge boundary with. What you're saying is that the rest I send the healing energy to. So, and how I've seen it, oftentimes people say, well, my family are like, I don't want to be around any of them. They're toxic. I cut.
Uh-oh. You said cut and now you're gone. For me anyways. Oh no.
A little blip. 11:11. Whoa. 11:11. Just went
crazy. There you go. That was powerful.
Wow, right? It's
yeah.
Odd. So what we do is we say, we're going to work with the last healthy ancestor. So in that lineage, you're going to go, it's sort of like, I like to say, it's like when you're in a store and you get bad service and you say, I want to talk to the manager, and then the manager's not helpful. And you say, I want to talk to the head guy. I want to talk.
I want to go above him.
I want to go above him. Right. So in a way, that's what we do with the ancestral healing is we go to the last one that can meet us in this frequency. And then as we form a bridge, everyone under that bridge, which means all the beings between you and them, get the healing.
Is there one person in the family doing that?
Well, there are individuals in every family that have a special gift, and people often say, oh, I have to be. Why do I have to do all the hard work, and why do I have to, do all the research and all this? And I'm like, well, you actually get to, and the bonus is that you get the most healing as well.
And at some point, you probably signed up for it. Around that time when you chose the game.
Just in case you're feeling a little sorry for yourself.
Yeah, why me? Yeah.
Look at this. I'm going to just turn the camera a little bit. My new camera is waiting for me at the post office. I just didn't have time to go and get it. Sorry, not the new camera stand. So It's going to be great by next time. Okay, so what I'm getting here, 4 of Wands, is we're upgrading and we're ready, almost ready. Look at this. We got the Hanging Man in the center. Hanging Man in the center is like, we've been waiting a long time to do this. We've been waiting. I'm getting like at least 4,000 years, maybe in some cases 6,000 or 7,000 years. So there's like, we're doing ancestral healing back for literally millennia. And we've been waiting for the times that we're in. And we're almost ready. Look at this. Emerging the world, the tower.
Yeah.
Oh, this is like emerging with a big pow. Like, it's like, we're ready. It's like throwing off the shackles is what I'm getting.
Is that what the tower often means, is throwing off the shackles?
Yeah, I mean, it can mean that. It can also mean that in this case, because it's got the world beside it, to me, it does mean that, because the world is an emerging card. Sometimes the tower, if it had, say, 4 of Pentacles or other stuck kind of energy cards, it means, the 8 of Swords or something like that. It would mean that we're going to have the universe, they say it knocks and then it bangs on the door and then it throws the book at you.
Yeah.
Sometimes the tower means the universe is throwing the book at you. But in this case, because it's qualified by this emerging world card, it means throwing off the shackles.
Amazing. Yeah. So we're ready.
We're ready.
Your daughter here is saying, well put, Mama, it's all about what comes through our frequency.
Yeah.
It's all about frequency in the end, isn't it?
About frequency.
Oh, and then so here's always been my confusion is between like, no, I feel like we've never been taught what to do with emotions, what they're for, feeling, emotion, all of that, what they're all for. And then when you're feeling upset or you're feeling what, you're feeling your feelings, but then you're like, well, I don't want it to be negative. Do you know what I mean? And I want to be stuck in this spiral. So, all this emotional stuff I find for me is emerging. And I'm just trying not to identify with it and then, kind of own, okay, well, I feel that way. And then look for what the belief is under that. So what do I believe about that? What's the negative belief I have about myself more than anything?
It's interesting when we shift to beliefs out of causes, because we're so cause oriented, right? Like it's like we
Right?
get
Cause and effect kind of thing.
we get angry.
Whose fault is it? Let me find them. And yeah. I'm going to send an email. Yeah.
I'm embarrassed. My daughter's listening and she'll be like, yeah, mom.
Yeah. You know,
like,
yeah. Even to your kids to call you out things.
Responsible for this in our family.
Yeah.
Who set this up? Did you do this? Yeah. To find somebody to lay fault on. We had to fix this problem right now.
Right. Call a meeting immediately. Yeah. Yeah, mom. Yeah. We're learning how to master, transmute our darkness as well. Hence why the shadow is coming up.
Yeah.
Transmute, I like that, right? And like as a whole being, we have to, accept our shadow as well, right? Be looking at that.
Yeah, so here's where it gets interesting with the ancestor stuff, because if we're saying, for example, what's wrong, like what caused this? I'm upset, I'm mad, I'm scared, I'm anxious, something, what's wrong? I mean, just pick something, right? Pick anything.
Yeah.
Like, there's a billion things you could pick. However, what you said something very powerful, Sue. You said, what is the belief? Never mind what the latest flavor of cause was. Oh, today, yesterday it was my kid. The day before that, it was
someone else to make us a victim.
But what is the belief? What's the belief that comes at the bottom of that emotion? I mean, this is very basic trauma counseling healing work, right? And you get into, instead of looking at causes, you look at beliefs. And it becomes a lot more, I want to say, sort of safe and comforting, because some part of you knows that cause game, it's not going anywhere.
And empowering, because now I get to look at what I can change about my reality. Because
you can't make a perfect sterile environment where nothing is upsetting. Right? It's impossible. It's always going to be somebody to point, or something to point the finger at. So the belief, if you get into the belief, well, I got really upset. Why did you get upset, Sue? Did you get upset because this has happened to you before, and now like it makes you feel like it did before, and now you think something terrible is going to happen because it did when I was a kid, when I had that feeling. And why did I get upset? Because I feel like I've seen the same pattern over and over, and I feel like I must be broken. There must be something wrong.
You gotta be kidding. I'm dealing with this again. I already dealt with it.
Yeah.
I spent an exorbitant amount of money trying to do it.
So then it's sort of like, the universe got it out for me. Like, who's responsible for this? I want to whack my finger at somebody.
Yeah. Because this time for sure it's someone's fault. Yeah, no.
Yeah. So you can get into like, okay, whoa. And what is the belief? The belief is where our power is. What do we believe? If that thing that made us scared and angry, it triggered a belief. And that belief we have power over.
Because we're talking about triggers. What are those triggers? It's like there's a belief. What's there? What's underneath it, right?
Yeah.
So, there's a question here. If you want to tackle it, what does Jupiter and Uranus bring us in regards to new ways of healing?
Jupiter and Uranus, yeah. So
and then and I have a question about timelines if nothing else comes up. Because are there infinite probabilities? And so we're looking at, people are talking about a split. Are there not infinite splits, depending on your frequency and where you choose to be?
Okay, so interesting, like Jupiter and Uranus are both planets, so I'm not sure. It could be a conjunction or something. I'm not up on what's exactly happening, but I'll just tune in to
Uranus, bring us some regards. Okay.
See what comes up. So the question was about what special healing abilities?
Yep.
Okay, they want me to shuffle a little more. Well, I just, you know, what I do know about those two planets, Jupiter is expansion and Uranus is sudden change, sudden upgrade, upleveling. So you could put that together in a sentence and say expansion through sudden upgrades. That would be a way to imagine it. So let's now, let's now look at.
Okay.
Okay, so I've already got some ideas around this, but we'll see what comes through with the cards. All right, so there is us being the magician. Yeah, that was what I was getting. I was getting the internet. Whoa. Time to play. Come out and play, everyone, is what I'm hearing. So, what I was being shown was just this incredible, like it's almost like we taught that Raha, that where I said the world in the tower shaking off the shackles. There's something about literally throwing your hands in the air and going, yes, look at what we have access to. How many free courses can you do on manifestation, on clearing blockages, on ancestral healing, on communication skills, on clearing trauma, on integrating the past? It's just on and on and on, and more coming out every second on the internet. Great blogs, people's wisdom, people are channeling, people are healing, people are sharing. This is like, I feel like there's a massive frequency chorus of choral singing angels out in the universe just going, well, it's just going, let them have
Here it is.
Open the gates and let them just have every bit.
We have access to everything at our fingertips. Is pretty incredible.
Access to everything. And this isn't just about, humdrum, go on and check your news feed or whatever. This is like, go in to your own inner design and your own unique template and say, what is just lighting me up this week, this month, this year? What am I just like so excited about? Because, we've the lack energy has not just been about money and security. It's also been about knowledge and information. We've been raised in a I want to say a lack frequency about knowledge. And in my own lifetime, and to some degree in yours too, Sue, and other viewers, like I have seen where you couldn't get any information unless you went into a library, got a library card, sat down, went through used to be the card, it wasn't a catalog on the computer. You had to go through these like little cards in a sliding box to find the titles that had that. We've just, in my lifetime, we've gone from, you had your Encyclopedia Britannica and Reader's Digest volumes, 1 to 1,000,000. And that's basically, and then you went to the library and that's how you got your information. So we are like just, and they're saying more is coming. More is coming. Can you even, like, how much more isn't even possible? But they're just saying that like the floodgates have been opened and we can play like never before, but we're still operating on scarcity thoughts.
Programming, right? It's still our programming.
Lack of critical thought, lack of curiosity. We're still operating like we don't have freedom of information. We're still getting caught in these freedom of information loopholes. Like it's like, good luck trying to stop it at this point. Good luck.
Unless they want it to be the Privacy Act when it works for them.
Oh, but there's a million ways that people will get around this now. Yeah. I mean, just for one, like we could go back and revive old technologies, and people have hard drives and floppy disks, and like, I mean, we're not going to be able to. So there's so many ways that information, people have things stored in different things. Like we've got backups and backups and backups, because part of how quickly this has evolved.
Yep.
It has gone at such a pace that you can't stamp out the pathways. There's a zillion pathways now for information.
Vast. Yep, for sure.
It's so vast.
Yep.
So they're saying, how do we work with healing? What is this Jupiter, Uranus energy around healing? It's that we have, like never before, everything at our disposal. We even have, people are literally like compiling botanical libraries. There's people in different parts of the world that are gathering botanical histories and cataloging all of that. Like in 100 years, there's going to be so much information on this planet about every little grain of sand, every possibility, every timeline possibility. So we are at that juncture. Do we need AI to have it all stored in our brain? No. What we need is a heart, an imagination, a curious mind, and a vision of what we want to create. And then we just go, and the information will find us. It's going to, So this is, I said this earlier this year. I said, we're in an emotional war now. We've actually, in a way, we've solved the information war. We won the information war.
An emotional war.
So the emotional war is around, we won the information war, but there's a feeling of, when you win something, but you're like, well, now I don't have the energy to enjoy it. I just could cry when I say it, It's like, we don't know what to do with it. We won the information war. We won it. So, but without winning the emotional war, we won't know how to use it, because we're still locked in the trauma of not having rights or access to information. So now that we have it, we've got to play. We've got to play and do the healing. I feel like it's so that when you're asking about Jupiter and Uranus, what I'm getting is that it's the emotional healing comes first, so that we can actually utilize all the information, because we're still like, we don't trust ourselves. We don't trust each other. We don't trust, is what it is. Yeah.
Right. But if we trusted our connection to source, do we need to trust anything else?
Well, that needs to be rebuilt.
Right. Hence the spiritual evolution we're in, right? So if I can trust in my God self or the creator, or however you want to say, the universe, if I can trust that, then whatever's happening out here, I'll be able to have less of a reaction to, be able to sit back and observe instead of reacting, and then being able to dig within.
Interesting, because I'm getting a feeling that we're looking at a couple of years where we want to go, like, we're healing the wounds around not having access to information. And because that's one of the major things, like they're saying.
And access to misinformation, access to false information, access to lies, all of it, right? Like,
well, and what I'm hearing from our guides is that we don't need to worry about false information so much, because all we need to do is put it to practice. Like, we just need to put it through the filter of experience, and it'll prove whether it's true. The proof is in the pudding.
Right.
So we can't sit around and think and philosophize about things. We need to test them.
Yes.
So new modalities and new healing and all this, and like, how do we heal? They're saying, test the water, like go out and test things. You don't need to buy it hook, line, and sinker. If whatever the technology or the modality that you're interested in is not offered on a trial basis without investing a huge amount of time, energy, money, and whatever, then just move along, because everything needs to be really accessible now, at least to test drive it.
Right. Because the witches and the early healers in the time before all of the witch trials, essentially, right? So the women went out and they were finding the herbs that were healing people by testing them. And it wasn't until they were like, under the microscope, they were testing them. That's how homeopathy was developed. Mm-hmm. So it was all about that, not right. Like, so it was all about in that testing process. Oh, that worked. We know that works. And then it got filed.
That's right. And so we want to go back to look at how access to the ability to work with information was denied. So for example, you get everything from, writing and, so we had oral history and folklore, and that's how medicine knowledge was passed on. And then they killed all the medicine healers so that folklore couldn't be passed on. Absolutely. Then you have the scientists or the elites that they've purchased the right to have these scholars working on things and testing things, but that information is not available to the masses. So the denial of information is actually the next, and the healing, the emotion around that, so that we can actually work with, because it literally, it's like we might as well not have all this stuff because we don't know how to interact with it. We're set up to feel unsure, to feel anxious, to feel there must be something better. Like we just can't settle on putting something in practice. We're it's like if one course is good, 10 courses are better. If one teacher is good, a dozen are better. We've got this, we don't know how to stop. And
that makes tons of sense. So many people come to me for regression. Like, what am I supposed to do? What am I supposed to do? And they have 10 certificates. It's like you have so much, so practice, such amazing healers, but don't it's like, no, I need more. So there's often this feeling I need more and more and more. And it's like, and spirit keeps on telling them, or their higher selves keeps on telling them, just start, just apply, just start, just do it. Just set up a room, then set up, so get moving. And often it's with clean up your area, clean up your home, move things, or, get everything so you can get set and then put the rubber to the road. Then the universe goes, hey. And I'm also finding a lot with conviction too of it. I've already decided enough. And as soon as I said enough, then things are going to switch for me, or I'm going to do this. And I start on a train, but starting to put rubber to the road, and that universe says, okay, I know you're serious now.
Truly, right? And it's again, there's also, we have this idea, we just want something that will work. We're very locked into efficiency. We don't want, we're like, oh no, but what if it doesn't work next year? What if there's something better out next year? And then the guys are saying, well, then you'll be interested in that and you'll learn about it and you'll integrate that, and that'll graciously just transition. So it's like we're looking for the perfect thing so that we don't need to keep growing. We're looking for
now I'm good. I found it. I'm good. Made it to the mountaintop. Right?
Yeah. And so there's something about cycling through things. So let's say you have 2 or 3 different modalities. Go on a journey where you're doing them and then you're resting, having a resting phase. A lot of these different diets and supplements and therapies, they talk about, you don't want to do it year in and year out, week in and week out for the rest of your life. You cycle through these things, maybe seasonally, maybe, with the phases of the moon or something. You cycle through things and you can come back to them later. It's almost what I hear. It's like I'm hearing this team of our higher selves guides, and they're speaking very slowly, they're talking to us like we're little babies, because we are. They're going, it's okay. You can start and then stop and then come back later. That's how they're talking. It's like this very
instead of like I tried, it didn't work, and you're like throwing the baby out with the bathwater all the time. I'm just frustrated, and they're like, okay, listen.
So healing this energy around access to so much, and what do we do with it, and the emotional, I want to say the emotional health to feel safe in the process of exploring.
Tuning in. The other thing is tuning in. Like it's like I feel like we get really dogmatic about it. It's like, oh, well, they're trying to vegan, that's right. And then I try, but it's not good for my voice. That's not meant for me, maybe. Did it feel good? Did it not feel good? Like it, tuning in. Do I feel like I need to kind of do a cleanse right now, or it's springtime or whatever you're doing, but tuning in. Did that help? I'm often like, and sometimes I'm questioning when I'm going to bed. I'm like, did that help? And it's like, I don't feel like it did, but that's okay,
Well, and I feel like we're getting good also because we're so geared to following all the rules, right? So it's like the rules were made by someone that is not you. The rules were made by someone that has a different physiology, a different psychology, a different
and that's not an individual basis.
So so when we can begin to really work with listening, tuning in regularly with ourselves, and it is about sort of like they're saying don't use the word trial and error, use the word trial and learning. Like we learn, and we don't need to make absolute decisions like, oh, this isn't work for me. My daughter and I have been talking about this a lot. Crystal and I have been talking about this because it's like working with our diets, and it seems like it's almost like our bodies need something different every day. Like some days they need this certain type of diet, and then like a few days later they need something totally different. And if we got into the old way, the old paradigm of I'm on this diet, our bodies are going, no, don't like that now. That was yesterday.
Fair enough, right? Yeah, your body lets you know pretty quick if you ate something and didn't like. We say I like it, but my body doesn't. We humans, Ricky Green saying us humans never stop growing spiritually. We're always evolving. And I always say, like, what I found in sessions is that people who have had harder lives, like what we would consider more stressful, harder lives, are the ones that come here to evolve. Really wanted to come here and evolve. So it's kind of a gift in another way, that it's like if you've chosen a hard path. So we got a couple questions here. So Valerie's saying, will there be a change in the weather patterns? And there's such a lack of sunshine. And I'm in a province here in Canada that we get so much sunshine, and this winter has been a cloud cover over us almost the whole, I wouldn't say the whole winter, but a lot of the winter. So it's been kind of dreadful that way. This whole cloud cover. So I'm wondering about that. And then somebody had, okay. I know a lot of people probably have this question. I know I do. It's the RV. You know the RV, right? The RV is taking so long. I took up a cross stitch. Right. You got like all these things. Ready for? Oh wow. Okay. Exactly. I hear you. What? You're waiting for it too, right? But. Yeah. So I think the harder part for that is because, I think in the last couple of years, it was like, okay, it's right around the corner. It's right around the corner. And okay. And I kind of liken it to this carrot, right? And you find that in like a, like a narcissistic relationship. Here, we got something for you, and you're going to make me follow it for years on end, but you never actually give it to me. That's how I'm feeling.
I know. I was like, what was that really all about? We'll look at that. Let's go into the weather.
Yep.
So the question was lack of sunshine, a change in the weather patterns and the lack of sunshine. Yes, because, yes. Now, interesting. Did you know, I got some piece of news around I think it's the state of Tennessee, and they actually passed the legislation around banning all spraying in the air.
Hey, what?
Yep, it was just put through like a week ago or something. I have the information on
And
it.
apparently it's the G8 countries, because when we were in El Salvador, there was nothing in the skies, nothing. Bright blue skies and happy people and children who were playing like on the, like really playing on the beach by themselves, like not this crazy paranoia like we seem to have here.
Okay. So this is first of all, yes. For now, there will be pauses, and we will have these times where the sun is coming in, and it's really strange. It's almost like what they're showing me is that they can't sustain these weather wars like ongoing all the time.
Right.
So we have periodic breaks in it, and then they come back with a vengeance kind of thing. Mm-hmm. So 2 things about that. First thing is I've felt for a really long time that there is something we're going to develop in terms of new ways of caring for ourselves and growing food and new ways of living and working with natural energy and the sun's energy and so on. So this is designed by the higher ups than the cabal. Like the ones way above that have designed this nasty cabal nonsense to do this thing, which is going to propel us to evolve in a certain way. It's not nice. It feels really gross. It feels really like it is very manipulative. It's very short-sighted, and the word nihilistic, right? I remember listening to one of these climate scientists saying, what somebody was saying, well, you're playing around with the lives of your grandchildren or something. And he was like, who cares about them? They won't even be born if we don't stay alive or something. And it's like, wow, that's the best you can do. That's the best you can do. Who cares about it?
Yeah, there's some people I can't listen to, whether they're on kind of the truther side or not. If it's too doomsday, I cannot.
No, this wasn't a truther. This was.
But nonetheless, either way, right? Yeah.
And it's like, okay, that's the best you can do. Like all your science and researchers and everything, and that's the very best narrative you come up with is who cares about our grandkids? Like, wow, okay. So this is the long haul. This is one of the really big works of our generation, definitely the decade. I'm getting into the 2050s. We're still going to be working with this. We're still going to be, buckle up and be prepared. We're going to interesting. I learned about chemtrails in the late 90s. And then some of my friends, we started working with you didn't want to grow food, any above ground crops. So anything that had fruit or leaves or whatever that you eat,
so only root vegetables, essentially, kind of
vegetables that are not below ground had to be grown in under some coverage, like a large greenhouse or something, because you didn't want all of that to just land on them. And then you wanted your water sources to come from wells and underground springs and deep in the earth, because everything on the surface is going to be polluted, and it's going to be harder and harder for our bodies to assimilate, right? Because it's got all that aluminum and barium and all that gross stuff in it. So but through this troublesome, very challenging, unfortunate war that we're going through, we're going to learn really phenomenal things about how to change the way we feed ourselves, the way we house ourselves, we're going to actually really evolve and up level because of this challenge. So it has a purpose, but it is not over. But however, the good news is there will be spells of where it's for some reason. I'm going to pull a couple cards and see why is it they can't be doing it all the time.
Oh, good question.
Oh, this is interesting. This is the same two cards that were in the middle last time.
Yep.
This feels like there's something very fascinating about this. It's almost like they're getting their orders from a higher up, and it's not always a go. It's a stop and a go. So we're going to have breaks and pauses in it, and the guides are saying really like start to sort of like take advantage of that and work with that. But we're going to need some bigger strategies for the long term because this isn't over. However, we look to Tennessee and say, okay, what happened there? How did they coalesce and come together as a region, as a state, and work together with their politics to create that, to legislate that? That's what we want to start. If we can start activating that all over the place, one by one, different states and regions. So find out what happened there and then get that going in your area.
Yeah, yes, apply it here then. That's absolutely amazing. Tennessee, you say. It's almost like it's pushing us to be creative. It's like, what is it? Is the mother of necessity, or what is it like? Oh, whatever. I don't even remember the saying, but right? Yeah.
I can't remember.
Please type, but it's like something is the mother of
We're both having brain gaps here.
Yeah. It's like, but essentially you got to be creative. If you don't have it and it's not working, you got to do something about it, right? And so, think about the people who made it through the 30s. I mean, you just started to get super creative, right? So we're talking about timelines. So yeah, what about the time? Okay, do you want to do the RV first? Because I feel like
let's do the RV, which is interesting because it's like a timeline, right?
Yeah. I'm getting on the RV timeline. That's all you got to do, right?
Okay. So, just a thought, everybody. Just a thought. Take a big breath now, all together.
Oh, got it. Okay, hang on. Sorry, necessity is the mother of invention. Right. You know what we meant, right? Okay.
So the thought is, what if the better timeline is not, I'm not going to say not the RV, because I've always felt these things will come to pass, maybe not in the wide ranging, far sweeping way that we've imagined.
Right.
And why not? Because we will have other options. There's other timelines that are even superior that are growing.
So don't get stuck on that. It's got to be okay. This one. You get the feeling. I got the RV. I feel super abundant, or I got enough that I feel super abundant. I can do whatever I want to do, or do whatever you want to do. Feel super abundant and get on that timeline that feels amazing. Don't get stuck on one timeline.
Yeah. So the upgrade, we've already been upgraded. In fact, they're saying we're about 3 or 4 versions ahead. It's sort of like if you had an old operating system, they're saying, oh, that one is actually. So what's interesting about this is that it isn't. So I've been saying probably for about 2 years now, I've been like, it's going to slip in all these little pockets, all these little ways that we don't see it. So these monies that are available. Well, my daughter and I were just talking about this the other day. We were on a drive and we were talking about, if you had a whole big schwack of money to give to humanity, to give to, let's say, North Americans.
Yeah.
You just like send out checks to everybody, like, here in your inbox is $1 million. Like, it could create some real strange, distorted, wonky, not so good stuff, right?
I couldn't agree more. Yeah. That never made any sense to me. It's like if you already have you're already over consuming, we're already damaging the earth, and if you're on that track and you get a schwack of money, that doesn't work.
So we were talking about, and I always used to say, if I won like millions of dollars, what I would do is set up a foundation and I would make these grants available to people for projects. So it's like, you know, basically I would make it so that even my friends and family and everybody, they'd have to come in to the foundation, not to me, but to the collective group of, you know, the
Yeah, I'd have a you have like
board
you
of
have like,
directors, right?
exactly.
And you choose those people because they had the ethics and the value system and whatever. And basically almost all the projects would get funded. And if they didn't get funded, it was probably because they didn't have a clear enough vision and a strong enough business plan. And then you gave them support to get that up to speed, right?
Right.
So it's like, that's where I would put big.
Okay, so if you already create, who would be on your board, what exactly you would do with the money and have your project? So almost build it and they shall come in a way.
Well, actually,
is that the way to do it? And then someone's saying here too, is that the frequency. So yeah, Valerie's saying timelines, I heard, is all about frequency. And I'm like, yes. You think that?
Yes, I do. And so here we go with this idea of the model. And I've been saying you can ask people that have had readings with me. Lots of people I've said, you know what? The money is already there. When's the last time you went and looked for grants and, you know, like basically homeowner grants, or like there is a lot of unused money that's already circulating.
Good point. I worked at a post-secondary institution and they're like, you know how many people don't know? Sometimes you're the only one who applies and there's your $5,000.
And we can say, like nickel and diming, and I've got big visions. And it's like, yeah, well, start with something doable. Start small and build your reputation, build your working partners, right? That's what they say in business. You start and then you build. Business is about building relationships. So you start where you are, you get the small grants, you build that first level in, and then you get bigger investors and you go the next level. And sure enough, there's going to be, so that's where I see the money is already, a lot of it has been put into place. And we're not looking for it because we're waiting for it to come into our mailbox. It's a great big giant check, which would be very, very kind of overwhelming for a lot of us.
So that $400 I spent on that check, it's like that. You guys know what I mean? What is it for? All I have is this, but $400 on it. And it's like to get the humanitarian money. Was that like, yeah. And that's essentially everyone's waiting for the calls. Like they're going to call us in. And then there's this humanitarian money. And as soon as you have, right, that's part of the RV thing. So was that kind of not it?
You know, there's been over the years, there's been so many very interesting programs to help us
do it out of desperation on a whim.
Yeah, I feel like you know, what we learn from that is how to get together and work on solutions. Yeah, so I feel like the intention was good with that and it went awry. So but there is better versions. So this is where I'm saying with that you know, we had what was the 10 that we had there? But anyway, this is the Wheel of Fortune. So this is definitely an up leveling of around the timeline.
Yeah.
Yeah, look at that. So this is the other thing. The ego says, I'm tired of waiting. I want the big money. Give me 5 million. I've got these big plans, and my ego is mad that I had to wait, and now I don't even want your money. I don't want your 5,000. That's like an insult, right? Like it's I get it, but
where you're gonna put it now. Yeah.
However, where's your heart in all this? Where did you lose yourself along the way, and it's become a game of like they're saying frequency is frequency. You don't have. It's not like big or little. It's big or little is a concept that doesn't have to do with frequency, right? Frequency is frequency. So you could say, well,
abundance is abundance. I can have abundance of love, and abundance of friends, and abundance of joy, and abundance of all kinds of things. But I'm waiting for the cash in the bank, right? So,
like, what's your cutoff of generosity, right? Like, if it's not over 100,000, I don't want it. Well, what if
Right.
$100,000 $1 bills coming your way? But if you
Right.
it's not $100,000 bill, you're like, oh.
And everybody says, "Oh, it'll never change me," right? And then it's just like, well, maybe careful what we wish for too, right? We don't know what we don't know until we experience it. I love this, so I got to tell you what. Okay, so Valerie. You're good today, here, Valerie. Got another one. So she says, I agree. How many lottery winners don't know what to do with their winnings? Oh, yeah, that's what I was thinking. But she said something else here. She said something else. Where is it? We still want to go to work. Hi, Ashala. Oh, no, this is good. Okay, that too, Valerie. But okay, so Lisa says, hi, Ashala and Sue. If our lower chakras, and I like this a lot because I feel like I'm dealing with my root chakra. It's been a lot, right? Okay, so if our lower chakras are not healed, how does that impact the money coming to us, if at all?
Well,
it
does. And I've had this for years where I've been like, clearly, either my higher self does not have a sense of humor or has a sense of humor at my expense.
One of the two, I saw you did that, yeah.
Or I'm being protected from some version of myself that I'm not meant to be. And I learned over the years things like, why do I not have certain kinds of actualization?
That's a good way of saying it.
Effortless actualization that just blows people's minds, and then other things I don't have that in. And I've been often like, am I broken? Why do I have it over here but I don't have it here? And I've started to recognize that when I look back and think, what would I have done if I'd actualized then in that way? What would I have done differently? And when I follow the train, it's like, oh, my higher self directed me exactly where I need to be. So to not, second guess that, to not second guess if you're not manifesting in a certain way, it doesn't mean that you're not evolving and that you're not moving towards your greater destiny. I almost said density. So frequency, right? It's about frequency, because no amount of money is going to buy frequency upgrade. None. You can't buy it. It's impossible.
I wouldn't mind trying.
But
no, agreed. And a lot of people who have been super loaded, and then, and it's our false beliefs about money and about abundance and that sort of abundance. They say Edgar Casey, they were like, the guy never had a penny to his name. And he tried his whole life, but he had this belief that no man could get, and there's another one I don't ever get quite right, but no, a rich man has a better chance to get to heaven, than putting something through the eye of a needle or something. Anybody know that? So basically, a rich man's not going to get to heaven is what the belief is. And so it was like, no, that's bad. I think either way in this lifetime, whether you end up with money or not, I mean, we can't take it with us. And so it's within the heart, that's what I believe.
Well, and there is something about like finding the sweet spot where we operate from a sense of courage, inspiration, curiosity, creativity. We have enough for that, but not so much that, because money is a big responsibility.
And gratitude. Yes. And I got what you're saying. And then maybe that money takes you away from what you're supposed to be doing, or something else needs to be healed first before. And so, we're always like, and it's always like, it's also that I'll be happy when, I'm happy now and I'm grateful now and I'm not, so I think that's another piece of it. But the root chakra, and this is so interesting to me, because I think Lisa, to your point, is that like a lot of us like to get into these higher chakras and kind of get addicted to this high, but we're not grounding into our lower chakras. And what I read somewhere at one time, so I don't know, but if we're not grounded in our lower chakras, we can really become opportunists really easily.
And so, look at that. That's what we've seen with our whole global elite, is like that, and all the different industrial revolution and progress and all this. It's like opportunistic energies which are not grounded in the root chakra. So interesting. I'm wearing my beautiful wood dragon pendant. I just
yeah.
on today before our live. And what I'm sensing about this year of the wood dragon is about healing the root chakra, because it's this energy of this, like, the dragon energy is kind of fiery. It's very activating. And then the wood energy is growth. So we've got fiery growth. It's a little bit like the Uranus and Jupiter that we were talking about.
Oh, interesting. Yes, of course. Well, and I've also read there was, I think, Alexander Quinn, if anybody follows him, he was saying that lots coming up for humanity, sexual abuse.
Oh.
And not just this life, but other lives or those around us, or however that, that is for us. I mean, I wouldn't imagine anyone's unaffected. And if you just look at, if we're looking at trafficking, looking at any of that, are the children of the world, right? So that's coming up for healing. I mean, what that would have to be all root chakra stuff, and how we're able to stay grounded. And that, and we've been violated as humanity, traumatized with sexuality, the most sacred center we have. And so if that's coming up now, I feel like there's a time where humanity is getting to the point where, just like I was speaking before, it is enough now. Like it is, this is the line. This is the line. And it's affecting us. And if it affects us all, it affects us different ways, but it affects us all.
It affects us all. And this is a huge topic. And it's ironic or interesting that you mentioned it, because I've seen it this last 2 weeks coming up so much in readings. Almost every second reading has had it. And that's pretty extraordinary. Like, it used to be more like maybe one every 2 weeks or something would have it. So I'm recognizing that we're going through a node where there's a lot of healing around sexual abuse. And what I'm saying to people and recognizing is that it is in all of our lineages. It's in all of our histories, whether it's happened to you in this lifetime or your parents or somebody close to you this lifetime or not. It's happening. Yep. It's happened to all of us. We are all victims of this exact kind of violation. And what I was being shown is that there's two effects. When you are violated by a person in power, like a teacher, a minister, somebody who has authority in the system of the collective, like the values of society, someone who is in a position of power over you, that creates a power sickness. So it creates in the victim, and also in their children and their children's children and so on, it creates this energy of losing your power, often giving your power away. So for a lot of us that are in, like, we're afraid of authority figures, we're afraid of getting in trouble. We get into relationships with narcissists and give our power away. Those often can be traced back to some kind of violation from an authority person on one of our ancestors, say, for example, or our past lives. And if it's a family member, it's about trust and our relationship to God. So it's like we don't trust ourselves, and we don't trust relationships or connecting with people.
They get into betrayal traumas and stuff.
Betrayal trauma, yeah. And I feel like, Sue, I know you work with this in the healing modality that you offer. I know that my daughter works with this in the healing work that she offers. So it's going to be interesting. I want to invite everyone to keep connecting with us here in these lives. We may be changing the day from Wednesday to Tuesday in a couple of weeks, and more on that down the road. However, we're going to start rotating these three amazing guests: Sue, my daughter Crystal, and my dear friend and fellow reader Anita. All three of these phenomenally gifted readers and healers and therapists are going to be on my website featured. You can book with them on my site. And so I'm going to be launching them over the next 3 or 4 weeks. And we will be talking more about these subjects because we all weigh in, all of us weigh in with different perspectives and a lot to share and offer around this. So.
And I just would like to speak quickly to, so I've had people in hypnosis sessions, and it's maybe not even what they're coming in for, but whatever, we just ask for whatever needs to present to heal, be presented. You literally pull out, like you don't feel the emotion, you don't see anything. So you're able to create a safe space. And what we know about healing, if there can be a safe space created, you never have to re-experience anything. In fact, you can even go in and be like, absolutely not. Like, nope, I said no. And there it is. And it's like, there's the voice that you never had, and then you have it. And this is like, you know, so I think that's the beauty of it. Because once we can hold a safe space, as you know, what we know about trauma is that if there has been a safe space and you've been able to have agency, you've been able to say, no, this isn't happening, not this time. You had some agency, you could help yourself. And there was a safe space held after. What the response of everybody after is almost more important than what happened, and your interpretation of what happened.
Wow.
And
so the chills when you said all this.
Yeah. And then the other thing is the underlying shame. And it's so interesting because I was just reading in Dolores, people are often asking me about Dolores Cannon's reading. So in the book, Jesus and the Essenes, they were asking, they went back to the Essene times where they helped to raise Jesus, essentially, Yeshua. And so you learn about his life and his death and the crusades. It's really brilliant and beautiful, beautiful work. She couldn't get it published for 10 years. They were like, absolutely not. And so she got it done in through the back door. But anyways, they talked about Adam and Eve. And he said, yeah, the story of Adam and Eve about the tree of knowledge was that God or the creator did not want us to have shame. Mm-hmm. And they got ashamed of their bodies and started covering their bodies. Mm-hmm. And that's so fascinating when we're talking about this, right? So when you look at it, when you are violated, it's the shame that controls you. And so if that shame doesn't exist for you anymore, I feel like we're clearing shame from the collective, from our root chakra. Mm-hmm.
This is powerful. Mm-hmm. I feel like we could do a special on this topic at some point. It's really, really, it's up, it's big, and you know, we've covered some really phenomenal ground today. And I think that there's a couple of questions about the UK and some event that's scheduled to happen there.
Yep.
And
not doing my job.
So it's okay. You're
from Germany. I was just in a moment, and then like, okay.
So let's touch in on that. Would you bring that question back next week? Because a lot of that, I get that that's actually changing right now. That's going through change.
Did you want to pick any card, Estrella, or not really? Like, just do your quick.
I'm actually feeling like we want to give it. We want to come back to that in the next week or two. It's actually changing.
Okay.
So it may be whatever that was designed to be is already moving into something else. So really hold positive energy around that, because I feel like that it's already in change. Like we've got 2 5s. 5s are growth and chaos and change. So and this is an upgrade card in the middle, the 4 of Wands. So it's within 3 or 4 weeks, it's going to have changed and evolved to a better timeline potential. So keep holding that frequency. Stay in that frequency, because you can actually affect the outcome of it, is what I'm getting. So
absolutely, don't let the outside influence you. Like whatever is happening out here is already manifested. Keep the vibration high in here.
And in terms of all the stirring energy around it, I mean, I just have to say that it doesn't necessarily make sense to me, except of course with my ancestry and stuff like that. But I am so drawn to the UK. Like I'm just obsessed with it over the last, 3 or 4 years.
I didn't know that about you.
Yep, I'm obsessed. Well, I was married to a Brit too.
Okay.
But I mean, I've always been somewhat obsessed with the aisles. But it's become like I just have to go and spend time there. And I really have a powerful feeling that there's a phenomenal healing about to take place there in the next 30 or 40 years. So whatever's being stirred up and activated, similar to the Middle East story, right? Whatever's, yeah, you feeling it? Whatever's being activated, it's designed to get things stirred. It's stirring because things are going to really beautiful stuff is going to happen there. So hold that frequency and we will touch in about that lots in the weeks and months ahead.
Yeah, hold the line, you guys, in your frequency.
So lovely to share with all of you. And of course, I have to do the little spiel. They're training me well with Beyond Mystic to say at the beginning, you know, do the like, the share, the subscribe, the la 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 la.
Yeah, absolutely. Always keep the messages out there. So
I need to make it into a little song or something. So I feel good about it, you know, just sing it out loud. And,
I say it, you deserve it. Yeah, just like, share, and subscribe. It just gets the messages out there. So all good messages need to be shared. That's amazing. Yeah. So yeah, that's great. So thank you, everybody.
We are at 1:11 in 10 seconds. So I'm gonna end this. Exactly 1:11. Here we go.
Love everybody.
Bye for now.
Bye.